right, I am in LA. I flew down to LA and I'm at the biggest motorcycle dealer, Delamos Motorsports. And today I'm going to talk about the Ducati Streetfighter versus the Ducati Panigale. Which one would I pick? Which one I think is the better bike? Or what are the pros and cons of each bike? So looking at, certainly I'm going to try to review my bias. I already own a Streetfighter, the 2022 Streetfighter. And so I'm trying not to be biased or impartial towards my conclusion on which one is better. So anyway, looking at both bikes, this is a Streetfighter here. And so you've got the Streetfighter V4 and then you got the Ducati Panigale V4. So if I look at both bikes, I think, the better looking bike, I'll talk about looks, performance, and just the way it makes me feel. So even though I own a Streetfighter, I think the better looking bikes, having these standing side by side to each other, is honestly the Panigale. The Panigale looks so badass with that front end. The newer version, right? This is a 2023 version. So the 2023 version of the Panigale with the addition of the wings, it just looks phenomenal. The front end, I think the most beautiful bike in the world is this Ducati Panigale. Yes, I do own the Streetfighter, so I still, honestly, if I'm to be really honest, I think the Panigale looks better. The fins on it, just the way that front looks, God, it's just one sexy motorcycle. I think it's the best looking motorcycle in the world. The Streetfighter also does look good. It does not look bad, but I think there is a considerable difference in the looks of the Streetfighter versus the Panigale. So, and then the question becomes, if I think the Panigale is a better looking bike, then why did I get the Streetfighter? Well, a couple of reasons. Firstly, it was the cost, right? So the cost, the difference is about, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 here in the US. The V4 Streetfighter now retails for about 22K US, and the Panigale starts around 25. So it's about a 3K difference. So that was I didn't want to pay the extra money. The second reason why I went with the Streetfighter fighter versus the Panigale was just the comfort, the comfort and the sitting position and the handlebars, right? I wanted to be in a neutral stance versus a hot rocket crunchback stance. So I didn't want to be in a super sport stance, a racing mode. I wanted to be more relaxed. I wanted a more relaxing riding style. So hence, that's why I selected the Streetfighter. So it's primarily due to those two reasons. They're both bikes have the same engine. They've got the Panigale tuned to produce maybe 3 or 4 more horsepower and revs higher, right? It revs a little higher, and the torque curve is higher, versus the Streetfighter is slightly, it's just a few horsepower less, but the tuning of the Streetfighter is more torque at lower revs and more for street riding. So that's the difference. Now, those are the reasons why I selected the Streetfighter. But I think the Panigale has a couple of advantages. Firstly, one being obviously the looks. And the second one is, I think on the freeway at really high speeds, because it's got a fairing, you'll have a less turbulent ride and less wind resistance on the Panigale, right? You'll cut through the air and you'll be able to attack corners and definitely the racetrack much more aggressively than the Streetfighter. Now, both these bikes have MotoGP technology, and that was one of the other reasons I was willing to spend the dollars on the Ducati. This V4 engine, Desmo Dorici engine, is MotoGP technology. Hence, I said, okay, if I'm going to get the Ducati, I want it with the best V4 engine, and it's just amazing engine. The engine on this is so amazing. It just keeps pulling and pulling. There's no letdown in the power and the torque on the V4. The more you rev, the more it gives you, right? The more it revs, the more it gives you. So those are the kind of my viewpoints. I've owned the Streetfighter for over a year now. I've clocked about 6,500 miles on my Streetfighter, the 2022 version. It's going to go into the shop this week. I got to change the rear tire. I got a nail in the rear tire. I had to replace the front one around 6,300 miles, and now it's saying, I got to go and get the rear one replaced. So both bikes are amazing. Either Ducati will work, but if it comes down to looks, and if money was not an object, I probably would have got the Panigale. It does look a much better bike than the Streetfighter. The Streetfighter does look good. If prices were the same, I would have got the Panigale, but considering that it was more expensive, I figured I could get everything else in a more I'll get all the MotoGP technology and in a more relaxed riding position, because I am getting older and older, so I want to be more comfortable now going forward. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Panigale versus the Street Fighter. Stay tuned for more upcoming videos on the Ducati. Cheers.